First of all, let's begin with congrats on the double win at the Gotham Awards this week.
Thank you so much.
Including Breakthrough Director in a category that was pretty stacked and against anybody's odds.
Yeah.
Crazy field to beat. A city, a country, a memory, and a family. Those early conversations with Jermaine about point of view, vantage points, and filler. I get a sense as I'm watching this film that the background and the foreground are two separate stories unified. Talk to me about being very conscious about what's happening from the POV of a child and that background image.
Sure. Yeah, great way to start. Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we tried to discuss early on was perspective, like whose story this really is. I think there's a world where we wanted it to feel like all three characters, and I think in a way it kind of is all three characters, but we had to know the arc and the journey of all our characters in order to be able to deconstruct it and focus on the children specifically. I think it had to be the children's story because A, we didn't want the film to be super long, and B, we wanted to be quite concise and honor the fact that the kids didn't really know their father and they weren't necessarily interested in the politics of the time. So how do you tell a story that has enough politics but not too much? But yeah, again, always perspective, always really conscious. With Jermaine, it was really about this idea of staying low, staying with the boys, trying to light black skin in a particular way, trying to not see everything in every frame, like embrace having ugly frames if necessary, but at the same time try and, even if the frames are ugly, try and capture them in a sort of as photographic as possible, with a lot of texture.
Yeah.
With, you know, you spoke about close mid and far and background. Yeah, I think a lot of it is that, you know. I think shooting on film, shooting in Nigeria, having the privilege of telling a story, you really have to think of what's in the foreground, the mid, and the background. So a lot of that is completely intentional to this idea of what are we saying? Are we adding to stereotypical points of view, or are we like offering something that's a lot more nuanced, which is what was a big mandate from my brother in making a film of like everything we need to present a lot more nuance, because we film African films and African stories don't get afforded the possibility of nuance a lot of the time. It's a lot of one-dimensional sort of characters, but yeah, the foreground was definitely the story of the boys. It was definitely their how do I say, you know, one of the characters is conflict, another of the characters it's more gentle, and then the background is obviously like the politics and Falari's story with the politics, and trying to give you enough crumbs. The audiences don't feel left out of that. I mean, there's definitely been loads of people critiquing that they wanted more, but that's the point. The point is for people to go and find out more, you know. I say a lot that I know so much about American film and American culture and European film and culture, but we want to create films that make it incumbent on American and British and European audiences to come and find out about our stories. So it's not just us doing the emotional labor and trying to, you know, just tell you what's happened to us. We want a vested interest to come and care and listen to us tell our stories, as opposed to just coming to tell our stories for us.
There's other perspectives aside from Claire Denis.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that the 93-minute mark for me, that's movie magic. This is the perfect time. And I also wanted to say kudos for hiring a DP who had a lot of experience. I mean, I looked at his IMDb, even as assistant cameraman, but you gave him his first feature, and it's fun that seeing his other feature, a black and white film that also played in Venice this year, is here as well. Two completely different perspectives. So I just want to say kudos for backing somebody who's ready for that journey.
Yeah, completely. I appreciate you saying that. It's really important.
You co-wrote this with your brother.
Yeah.
Putting emotions, characters into words on the page is one thing. But since you're both working from a visual medium, I mean, I think the reason why so many people gravitate and really love this film is that there's a lyricism, there's a visual poetry. How do those elements get inserted on the page?
Excellent question. So, lyricism, you just used that word. My brother is he's an artist, he's a musician. He moved back to Nigeria 15 years ago to pursue music. He left a job in business in
Sony, whatever division.
You know, he's Thames's manager, he's head of Sony distribution in Africa. But 15 years ago, he left a business job, and let me reiterate this, a job in business in Amsterdam. He told our African mother he wants to go to Nigeria to rap. You know, my mum probably like shit the bed. Sorry, maybe we're not going to use that language, but my mum probably had a lot of anxieties that her son is leaving a job in Europe to go and do rap music in Nigeria, not in America, in Nigeria. So when you talk about lyricism, I think my brother has been honing his pen as a lyricist, as a poet for over, I mean, yeah, he went to Nigeria 15 years ago, but he's been rapping for almost 2 decades, right? So he's been subconsciously working towards this for a long period of time. I think my brother is such an incredible poet. He's put out a multitude of albums as an artist. He works with incredible artists, but his storytelling is always the thing that's evolved and evolved and evolved. So when it came to writing My Father's Shadow, I couldn't have called on a better person, you know? I think he's older than me. He's way more compassionate than I am. He's way more intelligent than I am. So working with him, it was just incredible to learn and have our perspectives in conversation and debating the efficacy of loads of things, because I think for all that I say about him, he probably feels the same way about me. But I give him a little bit of permission to be more creative. He gives me a lot of permission to be freer and braver. And I think in tandem, we work really well in that way, pushing ourselves, being honest as men and trying to get the most out of the material and scrutinizing the material as much as possible.
I saw this as a mediation on masculinity and fatherhood, being absent even when being present.
Correct.
Being an actor is about learning the lines, the mark. You're grabbing this actor out of his comfort zone. You're bringing him into a zone that he might be familiar with. And then there's a thing that happens between takes where you might be rigid and really ingrained in the character. And when you cut the scene, there's a levity that occurs, and that person is engaging with 2 young, non-professional actor soldiers.
Yeah.
How was it, from your perspective, to see him having to navigate warmth as an actor? Because those are his players. They have to create that dynamic.
Yeah. Firstly, I have to say that Ṣọpẹ Dìrísù is he's a titan, you know. There's not many other ways I can describe him, and I say that because not only did he lend himself to wanting to be in this film, because he's way more experienced than I am, right? But he took on this responsibility of like nurturing these 2 other first-time actors as well. You know, Ṣọpẹ trained a Rada, he's an incredible actor, but as a human, he's like second to none. He's the most empathetic, gentle. He literally, his performance on screen is who you find as the father in the film. To more about the boys, other than also learning from Ṣọpẹ, what we did is I'm very aware of my shortcomings as a first-time director. Obviously the film's great and I have amazing collaborators, but it was very important to me that the boys who were also first-time acting, we surrounded them with acting coaches. You know, in the perfect world, it would have just been me giving them notes and training them with, but I didn't go to film school. Like, again, I know my shortcomings. It was important to me. I did some acting workshops and really enjoyed it. And I was like, we need to surround them with acting coaches.
I hear you.
Whether the film is good or not, I want them to come out of this experience having learned the craft. So thankfully, we had 3 acting coaches over the course of the film come. And for me, I really emphasized that their technique should be about play. Not talking down to the boys, but actually giving them more responsibility. Like, kids are very resilient so long as they understand the subject matter, and we give them a low, a mid, and a high performance range that we can call on those ranges when and if we need them.
Yes.
So that was basically what we did. We didn't try and give them too much information. They just needed to know scene by scene. You know, they needed to know that we had welfare people on set in case things got too heavy. Their mother was on standby if things got too heavy. But they had Ṣọpẹ and they had the acting coaches and they had me, which was also like a bit of a pressure release. You know, I'm quite a jovial person. I just want us to have fun. So ultimately, like, I want the kids to be tactile. I want them to feel free on set. I don't want them to feel the director is this like overlord telling them yes and no. Like, for me, there's no mistakes. We just try stuff.
Yeah, there's got to be different vibes.
Yeah, and we're just going to rehearse and keep going.
Really quickly.
Sure.
They say write what you know. You
Yeah.
won the Big Daddy prize at Sundance. It's a major prize.
Yeah.
The world shut down. Lizard somehow feels very personal as well. I just wanted to get a sense of what your future essays might be like. Is it going to be something close to the chest, or do you want to remove yourself and give yourself a little bit of space?
Do you know what? I wish I could tell you verbatim. You know, I think we are probably starting from a place that it might be far away, but I think in some way or other we're probably going to have to draw from what we know, especially when you're dealing with characters, because I think what we really want to do is we don't want to add to this idea of caricature of characters.
Yeah.
We don't want to do any more harm stereotypically to a nation that's like trying to remove itself from like the shackles of all these like stereotypical versions of what it means to be Nigeria. We want to create a lot more nuanced characters, a lot more nuanced experiences for cinema goers. We want to introduce people to our community, our culture in a way that they haven't been before. So yeah, to answer that question, I'm not entirely sure until we do it. But what I would say is, yeah, we are gonna take a very active role in penning in being authors of our own stories. And I'm pretty sure within doing that, our work is very research orientated. So if not our stories, we're going to work with other people's stories to get the best and most honest depiction.
Hey, this is Eric from IONCINEMA.com. If you want to support us, subscribe below. For more reviews, interviews, film festival coverage from Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, you want to check out these guys on this side.